As far as I can remember, or I've been told by him or others, Dad was very artistic all his life. He painted, he sketched. He didn't really do it in his older age, unfortunately, but he was very good at it. He also played the piano, so he was very artistic and creative that way. He he was served in Korea for 2 or 3 years in the 50s as a sergeant in the mortar battalion. And when he came back, he started in the temporary personnel business with John Fanning and a company called Uniforce. And that kind of led to what he ultimately wound up doing in like 1975 was basically going out on his own. He always had the entrepreneurial spirit, always wanted to have his own business. So with the help of my mom, who worked as a legal secretary, he was then able to launch his own business, which took a number of years, but it became successful. It was called Ad Lib Advertising, and in fact, my brother Donnie runs it today.
They welcomed me in their home with open arms. They used to like to make fun of me because they felt I was from the country, because they were Brooklyners and had lived in Brooklyn all their lives. I would go running out into the streets of Brooklyn in bare feet, and the two of them would call out the window that I wasn't living in the country anymore. I was in the city and to get shoes on my feet. We were very close. Just a few years after I met my mother and father-in-law, my mother passed away. So my mother-in-law became a surrogate mother to me. And my father-in-law, although my father was still alive, he was either living in Arizona or he wasn't around that much. So Eddie, my father-in-law, kind of became like a father to me. He would yell at me if I did something wrong. He would come and pull me out of a bar if he wanted to. He would act like a real father. We were the first ones to leave Brooklyn, and we bought this home that we're in now in Old Bridge. And then his other brother got married, and they bought a house in Old Bridge. And then his other brother got married, and they bought a house in Old Bridge. And it was really the other two sister-in-laws who found these homes in Old Bridge and convinced Dee and Eddie to move out here.
Well, I think that he was always game to do it. I think Mom was the one who really had the very strong roots to Brooklyn and the house in Brooklyn in Bay Ridge. So it was really a matter of getting her convinced to come out. But having had us move out in 1990, I guess Donnie and Lisa moved out also. That's my other brother. And then a third brother, Gary, also moved out to Old Bridge, incredibly. We're all in the same town. And ultimately, it made sense for them to come. And Mom finally said, you know, if you can't beat him, join him. You know?
And it just happened that they moved into our neighborhood. And so they were right around the corner from us.
So a matter of 3 or 4 minutes away. So it was very, very nice to have them close by, especially in their older age. And it made it possible also for us to, you know, take care of Dad after Mom died in 2006. Well, it's kind of a long history, and I might not recall it all exactly, but he actually, 10 years prior to his death, he actually was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Pretty aggressive form, and no one really knew how long it would take to run its course. It's a slow-moving disease anyway, but he took hormone therapy as opposed to the other things available, which were like seed implantation and actually removal of the prostate. But you know, I think it had already spread beyond that, so that was the best course. And he actually, you know, managed it very well for better than 10 years. So that really wasn't his downfall.
One day he was just going for his normal checkup, and they did a colonoscopy on him, and they found that he had colon cancer. So they were going to operate on him to get out the colon cancer. And in all his pre-screenings for the operation, they came across a huge mass in his lung.
He was later diagnosed, though, with lung cancer and had part of his lung removed. He lived for a number of years that way. He had a little bout of colon cancer in there in between and survived that. So he was a real battler. He, you know, he had a lot of things going on health-wise.
And then after he recovered from that, he went in and he had the colon cancer taken care of. And everyone thought everything was great. And then he came down with more lung cancer.
And then, of course, the lung cancer recurred and spread, and it became clear that aggressive treatment probably did not make a lot of sense, because he was kind of an older man and relatively feeble. So, we all tried to make him as comfortable as we could, and eventually, it became time when it became clear he couldn't take care of himself rather than going to the home.
That was after he had the lung cancer and the colon cancer. Then your grandmother died. Dee died.
We took him into our house, and Mom did such a wonderful job, selfless job of helping take care of Dad while we all worked and went to school and such.
He moved in 6 months later. 5 or 6 months later. Well, his lung cancer had come back, and this time it was really bad. And he could no longer take care of himself. He did not want an operation. He wanted to just go. He did radiation, he did chemotherapy, but he got to a point where he couldn't be alone anymore in his house. And so then it was the big decision what to do. And that's when I went to your father and I said, I'm going to put my foot down on this one. I'm going to pull the age card. I'm the oldest one of all 6 of us. And I'm going to say that your father's going to come live here. Our house was perfectly set up for it. Our family room has a bathroom attached to it, not a full bath, but a half bath. We could put a sheet up so that he had privacy in the family room. Your father's study was right off the family room, so your father could be there at night and have easy access to him. And he could still be part of the family and be in with all of us. If he had lived with the one brother, he would have lived down in the basement. And it got to a point where it was very hard for Eddie to get up and down steps, so he would have been down in that basement alone all the time, and I couldn't stand the thought of that. And if he had lived with the other brother, he would have had his own room, but it was way in the back of the house and pretty segregated from the rest of the family. So I felt that our home was the best home for him to come live in. So we transformed the whole family room into a hospital room. I tried everything I could to have it not disrupt the household. We fortunately had a sunroom. It didn't have a TV in it at the time, but I went out and bought a big screen TV to put into the sunroom. My other daughter and I ran around buying furniture to try and make the sunroom now into more of a hangout room for the kids so that they would still have their place. All of you still had all your friends come over, and you'd hang out sometimes with your grandfather or sometimes alone in the sunroom with just your friends. So I tried for it not to disrupt the family at all. I had to cut back on a lot of things that I was doing because I was now a full-time caregiver to your grandfather. And
it was paying him back for the good man that he was to all of us, really.